The crocodile's eyes met mine for just a fraction of a second. Gold, flecked, ancient. And then its jaws closed around my legs and dragged me under. That moment changed everything I thought I knew about being human. My name is Val Plumwood. I'm an environmental philosopher, and in February 1985, I was in Kakadu National Park in Australia's Northern Territory, a place I loved, a place I'd fought to protect. I knew the bush, I respected it, and I still nearly died in it. The ranger at the East Alligator Station, Greg Miles, had asked me to assess a proposed walking trail in the park. It was the kind of work I lived for. The previous day, I'd paddled out on a 14-foot canoe onto the lily lagoons, white and pink water lilies spreading across the still water, birds everywhere, and it had been genuinely magical. So when the next morning arrived gray and drizzling, I didn't hesitate. I set off again. The plan was simple. Paddle across the lagoon and up a side channel to find an Aboriginal rock art site Greg had marked on a sketch map. Simple. Except nothing went to plan. Heavy rain. Within a couple of hours, the drizzle had turned into a proper downpour. The birds had vanished. The lagoon that had felt enchanting the day before now felt watchful. I'd been searching through a maze of shallow channels for hours, with no luck finding the rock art site. I pushed on anyway, following a deeper channel, tipping rainwater out of the canoe as it pooled at my feet. The channel eventually opened up and hit a sandy bar. I got out carefully. I knew the water's edge was exactly where crocodiles like to hunt, and crossed the bar to get a better look. That's when I got a shock. The muddy East Alligator River was right there, only about 100 yards away. The channel had looped me back to the main river, the one Greg had explicitly told me to stay off. I turned around. Time to go home. Driftwood. That was alive. I paddled back out into the main current, heading downstream toward the launch site. The rain and wind were picking up again. I hadn't gone more than 5 or 10 minutes when, rounding a bend, I saw what looked like a floating stick in the middle of the channel, one I hadn't noticed on the way up. As the current carried me toward it, the stick developed eyes. A crocodile. It didn't look huge. I wasn't panicking yet. Crocodiles in the water near canoes, the rangers had told me, weren't typically a problem. You were safe in the boat. So I paddled to avoid it, giving it a wide berth. But our paths kept converging. I was completely unprepared for the impact when it came. The crocodile slammed into the side of the canoe with tremendous force. Then it hit again, and again, and again, from different angles, shuddering the whole craft. The thing that was unheard of was happening. The canoe was under attack. In that instant, something shifted in my understanding of the situation. I wasn't a visitor watching nature anymore. I was an animal caught in the sights of a larger predator. I had to get out. If the canoe capsized, I'd be in the water with it, and that would be the end. I looked at the bank. Steep, muddy, nearly vertical. No good. But there was a paperbark tree nearby with low branches hanging over the edge. I made the decision in a split second. Get to that tree, get up into the branches, get off the water. I steered toward it, stood up in the canoe to jump. Before my foot even cleared the canoe, the crocodile rushed up alongside me. Its eyes locked onto mine from only a few feet away. I shouted at it, "Go away!" Some ridiculous instinct to bluff it. It didn't work. I grabbed the overhanging branches, but before I could pull myself up, the crocodile seized me between the legs and dragged me under. The death roll. What happened next is hard to describe, because it didn't feel real while it was happening. Everything dissolved into chaos. Water filled my senses as I was spun violently beneath the surface. I lost all sense of direction, while the force of the crocodile's twisting movements pulled at every part of my body. It seemed to last forever. And then, it stopped. I surfaced, gasping. I was still alive. I grabbed at the branches again, pulling myself up toward the bank with everything I had. But the crocodile wasn't done. It seized me a second time and pulled me back under into another death roll. The same darkness, the same suffocating spin. Again, I broke the surface. After surviving 2 death rolls, I tried again to climb the paperbark tree when the crocodile pulled me back under for a third time. 3 death rolls. I honestly didn't know what was happening to my body anymore. I knew it wanted to drown me. I knew I was running out of strength. Part of my mind kept insisting this couldn't be real. Part of me kept refusing to accept that this nightmare was really happening. I fought back, hitting the animal, jabbing my fingers toward what I thought might be its eyes or nose. On that third roll, when the crocodile briefly loosened its grip just enough, I tore myself free. I clawed my way up the muddy bank, fingers digging into slippery earth, hauling myself inch by inch away from the water. The crocodile didn't come after me this time. I lay on the bank, shaking so badly I couldn't speak. The rain hammered down around me. Survival was far from over. When the shaking slowed enough that I could think, I looked at my legs. My left leg was exposed to the bone. The crocodile's jaws had torn through muscle and flesh down to the skeleton. There was blood, a lot of it, mixing with the rain and mud. I had nothing. No first aid kit, no radio, no way to call for help. The ranger station was about 3 kilometers away through the bush. 3 kilometers with a leg torn to the bone, in driving rain, in crocodile country. I tore strips from my clothing and wrapped them around my legs and groin as tightly as I could to try to slow the bleeding. Then I started moving. Moving is generous. I stumbled, I crawled, I got up, fell down, got up again. The rain was relentless. The wet season was properly starting now, and the water was rising around me. Vegetation tore at my arms. Every step on that left leg was like the bone itself was screaming. But I kept going. What kept me going, I think about this a lot, was something very simple. I was not ready to die here, in the mud, in the dark, alone. Not yet. Found. When I finally saw lights in the distance, my voice was barely a whisper. I shouted for help, weak and desperate. Not sure if anyone could possibly hear me over the wind and rain. Greg Miles had noticed I hadn't come back. He'd driven out to the canoe launch site on a motorized trike and realized I hadn't returned. He heard my faint cry for help through the storm. After some time, it felt like forever, a rescue craft appeared. I was taken out on a 13-hour journey to Darwin Hospital. On the boat, my rescuers talked about going back upriver the next morning to find and shoot the crocodile. I argued against it. The words came out slow and ragged, but I meant them. I was the one who had gone where I wasn't supposed to go. The crocodile had done exactly what crocodiles do. The spot where I'd been lying was under 6 feet of water the very next morning, flooded by the rains marking the start of the wet season. Darwin Hospital. I spent a month in intensive care. Then came extensive skin grafts. The wounds became infected. badly infected. There was a real chance the doctors would have to amputate my left leg. I had also contracted melioidosis, a serious bacterial infection common in tropical soil and water, which made everything harder and more dangerous. But slowly, over weeks and then months, things stabilized. The infection was beaten back. The skin grafts took. I kept my leg. I survived because I didn't stop fighting. Not in the water, not on the bank, not on that 3-kilometer crawl through the dark. I also survived because a ranger noticed an empty trailer and drove out to look for me. And because I was lucky enough that the crocodile loosened its grip at the exact moment I had one shred of strength left. Most people who go through 3 death rolls don't come back to write about it. I've thought about that crocodile many times since. Those ancient gold eyes looking into mine right before it struck. It wasn't evil. It wasn't hunting me out of cruelty. It was simply doing what its kind has done for millions of years, long before humans ever arrived in that part of the world. I was just in the wrong place, in the wrong season, alone. And somehow, that was enough to make it out.